and with the contemporary authors class that put this together. So this is something I wrote called Candyland. There are the buildings, the stone imposed, obstructed blue and tiger marble fixed, an effort of light between buildings and fields of square glass windows, and people in windows, and children dreaming. Children who dream of Halloween, who like glittery red and blue seraphic wings best, because it suits interiors. I wish I had a wizard costume. Every year I say I'll dress up as a wizard and give all my friends crystal balls, like they have in that movie Labyrinth, where David Bowie spins one all around his arms and sings to goblin babies with pale blue tights on. I wish I had a wizard costume for certain days of the year just to ingest hallucinogens, and I could be that kid in the corner who looked terribly high, and then the wizard costume could confirm it. It's true that on Halloween the city's children consume unquantifiable amounts of sugar with sackful sums of Jolly Ranchers, Snickers, Skittles, sugar ropes, and whatever, and lose their sweet young minds in adult ecstasies. Kids like the loops in small patterned carpets, rattling loops of thread in sugar sunlight. Kids, if you put enough Skittles in your mouth at once, you can create a Super Skittle, which is made of all the Skittle flavors, and it's cool to keep the Super Skittle on the roof of your mouth because you can stick your tongue up there anytime and no one will know what you're doing. One time during Halloween, I was dressed up like Jason from Friday the 13th, but secretly in my heart, I wanted to be Daniel Day-Lewis from Last of the Mohicans. So when the neighborhood boys came around to pick me up, I told them to go on without me, because I didn't have the heart to be Daniel Day-Lewis in front of them. And instead, when they left, changed into my Indian costume, put on streaks of paint on my cheeks, put on a long black wig, grabbed my fake rifle, and had my mother drive me around to trick or treat with my little sister, who was a bird or bee or clown or something. Some people don't know this about me, but I have a minor hankering for dragons. Sometimes I just Google them and leave them as my girlfriend's desktop background by way of saying surprise. The way cats leave dead birds for their owners, not putting much thought into it, but meaning well. I have this recurring fantasy involving Jaws, the shark, where I hang out inside his mouth, but it's cool because we're friends, and it's more like Jaws at Disney World. He's made of plastic, and I count his white teeth because he's always asking me how many he has. Sometimes Jaws' teeth remind me of the Brooklyn Bridge, wires over moony sparkles of the river, and sometimes when I'm not in Jaws and the city peaks in yellow afternoon, I'm reminded of the Indian Ocean purring in a topaz. Every year for Halloween, my friends and I traditionally gather at my Brooklyn apartment, and we turn the lights off and sit in the dark to watch YouTube videos of the world's biggest spiders, because I need everyone to know what's out there exactly.
I'm going to read from one of the books that we read in class this semester. My name is Lola Coleman, and for tonight I'm Foxy Brown. So I've chosen to do a passage about the 70s era in New York City. This is from Let the Great World Spin, Cullen McKine. I'd been in the South Bronx a week. It was so humid, some nights we had to shoulder the door closed. Kids on the 10th floor aimed television sets at the housing cops who patrolled below. Airmail. The police came in clubbing. Shots rang out from the rooftop. On the radio there was a song about the revolution being ghettoized. Arson on the streets. It was a city with its fingers in the garbage. A city that ate off dirty dishes. One of those out of the ordinary days that made sense of the slew of ordinary days. New York has a way of doing that. Every now and then, the city shook its soul out. It assailed you with an image, or a day, or a crime, or a terror, or a beautiful so difficult to wrap your mind around that you had to shake your head in disbelief. He had a theory about it. It happened and re-happened because it was a city uninterested in history. Strange things occurred precisely because there was no necessary regard for the past. The city lived in a sort of everyday present. It had no need to believe in itself as a London or an Athens or even a signifier of the New World like a Sydney or Los Angeles. No, the city couldn't care less about where it stood. He had seen a t-shirt once that said, New York fucking City, as if it were the only place that ever existed and the only one that ever would. New York kept going forward precisely because it didn't give a good goddamn about what it had left behind. It was like the city that Lot left, and it would dissolve if it ever began looking backward over its own shoulder. 2 pillars of salt, Long Island and New Jersey. She's always thought that one of the beauties of New York is that you can be from anywhere, and within minutes of landing, you feel as if it's your own.
My name is Napoleon Dynamite, but my teachers like to call me Luciana, and I'm continuing Lola's passage from Let the Great World Spin. He had said to his wife many times that the past disappeared in the city. It was why there weren't many monuments around. It wasn't like London, where every corner had a historical figure carved out of stone, a war memorial here, a leader's bust there. He could only really pinpoint a dozen true statues around New York City, most of them in Central Park, along the Literary Walk, and who in the world went to Central Park these days anyway? A man would need a phalanx of tanks just to pass Sir Walter Scott. On other famous street corners, Broadway or Wall Street or around Gracie Square, nobody felt a need to lay claim to history. Why bother? You couldn't eat a statue, you couldn't screw a monument, you couldn't wring $1 million out of a piece of brass. Even down here on Center Street, they didn't have many public backslaps to themselves. No Lady Justice in a blindfold, no supreme thinkers with their robes wrapped around themselves. No hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, carved into the upper granite columns of the criminal courts. Which was one of the things that made Judge Soderbergh think that the tightrope walker was such a stroke of genius, a monument in himself. He had made himself into a statue, but a perfect New York one, a temporary one. Up in the air, high above the city, a statue that had no regard for the past. He had gone to the World Trade Center and had strung his rope across the biggest towers in the world, the Twin Towers, of all places, so brash, so glassy.
September 11th by Kevin Powell, 2001. Might it be, as my mother said to me on this ugly, sinful day, that the world is on its last go-round. Hijacked wild birds strip the sky of its innocent morning breath. Steel towers crumple like playing cards on an uneven metal table. Unrehearsed screams we dare not hear leap from windows into the open, bottomless palms of God. I cannot stand to watch life reduce itself to powdery dust and soot lathering the devil's inflamed mouth, but I am fixated on the television anyhow. Is this what slavery was like? Is this what the Holocaust was like? Is this what famine is like? Is this what war is like? Is this how you felt, dear mother, when King and the 2 Kennedys were killed? I want to stitch up the sky, deny humans the right to fly, cry until my tears have washed hatred from the mildewed underarms of history. And I want to say to the firemen, ah yes, the firemen, your husband, your father, your brother, your uncle, your friend, thank you for speeding to the end of your time. And thank you for showing us that courage is a soul, so unselfish it will scale a collapsing building to liberate a stranger, even as your blood relatives wonder if you are alive. From the remains of this madness, I detect a heartbeat called life. From the remains of this madness, I smell an aroma called love. From the remains of this madness, I embrace a body called humanity. From the remains of this madness, I construct a dream called hope. From the remains of this madness, I will ride the wings of the deceased into the clouds, scribble their names on the sun, erect a memorial to the moon, chant the blues for New York City, then resurrect a world where a newborn rose will jet through the broken concrete.
Hi, my name is Kenny. I'll be reading an excerpt from The Black Veil by Rick Moody. This book was published in 2002. Everywhere, the blackness of the veil. The blackness of the black holes. The blackness of the black bodies of physics. Blackness of blackguards, scoundrels, practicing blackmail, or the black of blackouts. The blackness of the New York City blackout. Its looting of shops. The semi-solid black cap plug of greasy material blacking the outlet of a sebaceous gland in the skin, otherwise known to teenagers internationally as the black hat. The blackness of blackwater fever, that dangerous form of malaria in which, during the destruction of red blood cells, waste cells travel through the kidneys and into the urine. The incredibly copious black fauna of planet Earth, such as the Ursus americanus, or black bear. The Atlantic black dogfish, found in the deep waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Black of the sub-Saharan goshawk, black of the black blowfly maggie, black of the black bowhead, of the black carp, of the black cockadoo, of the black guinea fowl, of the black crappie. The blackness of the blackbird, the blackness of the black Labrador retriever, the black marlin, the black lemur, the black oystercatcher, the black swan, the black vine weevil, the black vulture, the black wildebeest. Then, of course, the hyphenated black fauna, such as black-capped gnatcatcher, black-billed magpie, black-bellied hamster, black-backed jackal, black-crowned heron, black-shouldered kite, black-tailed deer. The real American color is black, all built upon the color black. When I wore the lonely, annihilating veil, I felt the blackness of it, as above, but mostly insinuated. A howling inside me about history and remorse and loneliness and madness and the need to capture these somehow. I feel it still. My roots, which are your roots, go back to the first syllable of language. To be a citizen of the West is to be a murderer. Don't kid yourself. Cover your face.
This is Steps, written by Frank O'Hara in 1960 and recited for you this evening by Emma the Pirate. How funny you are today, New York, like Ginger Rogers in Swing Time and St. Bridget's steeple leaning a little to the left. Here I have just jumped out of a bed full of V-days, I got tired of D-days, and Blue You there still accepts me foolish and free. All I want is a room up there and you in it, and even the traffic halt so thick is a way for people to rub up against each other, and when their surgical appliances lock, they stay together for the rest of the day. What a day. I go by to check a slide and I say, that painting's not so blue. Where's Lana Turner? She's out eating and Garbo's backstage at the Met. Everyone's taking their coat off so they can show a rib cage to the rib watchers, and the park's full of dancers with their tights and shoes and little bags who are often mistaken for worker-outers at the West Side Y. Why not? The Pittsburgh Pirates shout, because they won, and in a sense, we're all winning. We're alive. The apartment was vacated by a gay couple who moved to the country for fun. They moved a day too soon. Even the stabbings are helping the population explosion, though in the wrong country. And all those liars have left the UN, and the Seagram building's no longer rivaled in interest. Not that we need liquor, we just like it. And the little box is out on the sidewalk next to the delicatessen so the old man can sit on it and drink beer and get knocked off it by his wife later in the day while the sun is still shining. Oh God, it's wonderful to get out of bed and drink too much coffee and smoke too many cigarettes and love you so much.
Good evening. My name is Susan Bershai, and I'll be reading a poem by Walt Whitman titled On the Beach at Night Alone, published in 1872. On the beach at night alone, as the old mother sways her to and fro, singing her husky song. As I watch the bright stars shining, I think a thought of the cleft of the universes and of the future. A vast similitude interlocks all. All spheres grown, ungrown, small, large, suns, moons, planets, all distances of place, however wide, all distances of time, all inanimate forms, all souls, all living bodies, though they be ever so different, or in different worlds, all gaseous, watery, vegetable, mineral processes, the fishes, the brutes, all nations, colors, barbarism, civilizations, languages, all identities that have existed or may exist on this globe or any globe, all lives and deaths, all of the past, present, future. This vast similitude spans them, and always has spanned, and shall forever span them and compactly hold and enclose them.
Hi, my name is Depeche, and I'm dressed up as Eric Cartman. I will be reading The Taxi by Amy Lowell. When I am away from you, the world beats dead, like a slackened drum. I call out for you against the jutted stars, and shout into the ridges of the wind. Streets coming fast, one after the other, wedge you away from me, and the lamps of the city prick my eyes, so that I can no longer see your face. Why should I leave you? To wound myself upon the sharp edges of the night?
Hi, I'm Kathleen. I'm reading a poem by Patti Smith, Seventh Heaven, written sometime in the 70s. Oh, Raphael, guardian angel, in love and crime all things move in sevens. 7 compartments in the heart, the 7 elaborate temptations. 7 devils cast from Mary Magdalene, whore of Christ. The 7 marvelous voyages of Sinbad. Sin, bad, and the number 7 branded forever on the forehead of Cain. The first inspired man. The father of desire and murder. But his was not the first ecstasy. Consider his mother. Eve's was the crime of curiosity. As the saying goes, it killed the pussy. One bad apple spoiled the whole shot. But be sure it was no apple. An apple looks like an ass. It's bag's fruit. It must have been a tomato, or better yet, a mango. She bit. What must we blame her? Abuse her? Poor sweet bitch. Perhaps there's more to the story. Think of Satan as some stud. Maybe her knees were open. Satan snakes between them. They open wider, snakes up her thighs, rubs against her for a while, more than the tree of knowledge was about to be eaten. She shudders her first shudder. Pleasure, pleasure garden. Was she sorry? Are we ever girls? Was she a good lay? God only knows.
Hi, I'm Minnie. Soon after the birth of the Occupy Wall Street movement, Wasalu Jocko, or otherwise known as Lupe Fiasco, came out with a rap song in support of the occupiers. I'm not going to rap it because no one really wants to hear me rap, but I will read it. Hey money man, the crowd is outside. The past, the future, and the now is outside. The teachers and cooks and the dropouts too. Word on the street is they looking for you. Hey money man, they saying what's the score? And how much blood have you spilled on the butcher shop floor? Those numbers keep running, but what they running into? The crowd is outside and they asking of you. Hey money man, the mayor's on the phone. He says he wants to know if all those people went home. Those mamas and papas and students and cooks. Those teachers and preachers. 1 second, I'll look. Hey money man, the tents are still up. The songs are still singing and the coffee's in cups. The night's due to fall and the sun's going down. but it's still a whole mess of good folks hanging round. Their eyes are wide and their voices are loud. It's white and black and colorless proud. The signs are big and the smiles are bright. By heaven, I reckon it's gonna be one hell of a night. Hey, money man, poor money man, you should slip out the back, 'cause the forces of greed are under attack. No bombs or bullets or rocks or guns, just hashtags and voices at the tops of their lungs. And money man, I won't need a ride, but if you need me, you can find me outside.
Hi, I'm Tracy, and I'm not quite sure if I'm dressed as a gypsy or myself because all these things were already in my closet. I'm gonna read two voices by the current poet laureate Philip Levine. This is written in 2000. I heard a voice behind me in the street calling my name. This was not years ago, this was yesterday in Brooklyn. Late spring of the new year, the flowers, roses, tulips, mock orange, pansies, shouting their colors along the promenade. I was on my way to nothing, just ambling along, my head altogether empty on a Saturday morning in my 73rd year. Not altogether empty, for the flowers were in it, and the crowds of kids in bright shirts and sweaters, young kids with their parents in tow. And across the river there was the city, breaking through the haze to call to the heights, to belittle Brooklyn as it always does. Then my name, Philip, a huge voice, deep and resonant, unfamiliar, or, if heard before, heard on radio or television, too sonorous for daily life. So, of course, I turned to behold more kids on rollerblades, kids on skateboards, kids on foot, no one especially aware of me. Waiting, awake now as I had not been, certain the morning meant more than I'd come looking for. The crowds passed, the sun grew stronger, the day passed into afternoon, and I gave up at last, and turned for home half believing I'd missed something. Let's say I phone you tonight, and tell you about my little adventure which came to nothing. What will you think? Not what will you say. You'll say it was an illusion, or you'll say there was a deep need in me to hear that particular voice. Or sometimes the voices of the air, all the separate voices in so public a place, can unite for a moment to produce Philip, or John, or Robert, or whatever we expect. I don't know what you'll think. I've never known. Even when you and I were together, and I'd waken in the false dawn to hear you in the secret voice that was yours, crying out into the dark a name not mine.
Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Ehrman, and I'm dressed as the girl with the green ribbon from Alvin Schwartz's Watershed children's easy reader in a dark, dark room. And I will be reading a short original piece called The Ghosts of Gold Street. He's prescribed the amphetamines by a young Lebanese doctor who hits on him every time they have an appointment. The pills are cornflower blue, the size of red currants. He's taken 3 of them tonight, and suddenly he's a morning glory, all lilac, lavender, and gold flecks in his eyes. He's sitting at his desk and telling me terrible things. Anyone else would have hated him, he says, and I don't respond because most people will do anything to avoid silence, and I want him to keep talking. He glances over at me absent-mindedly. He was a mean man. The back of his neck and his ears are pink, and I know that they'd be hot to the touch if I got up from the bed and went over to him, put my arms around his shoulders, kissed him gently underneath his Adam's apple to quiet his nerves. Finally, he talks again. I idolized him. I lick my lips. It feels late. Through the windows that line the far wall of his bedroom, I can see the reflection of the Brooklyn Bridge's lights as they shimmer like a fish's scales on the black waters of the East River. His apartment is on Gold Street and Maiden Lane, right in old New Amsterdam. These streets may have been around for hundreds of years, but I still have to convince myself that his father's ghost isn't the only one on the block.
Hello, my name is Laura Gardner. I think you know who I am. I'm reading The Whole Mess, Almost, by Gregory Corso. I ran up 6 flights of stairs to my small furnished room, opened the window, and began throwing out those things most important in life. First to go, truth. Squealing like a fink. Don't! I'll tell awful things about you. Oh yeah? Well, I've nothing to hide. Out. Then went God, glowering and whimpering in amazement. It's not my fault. I'm not the cause of it. Out. then love, cooing bribes. You'll never know intimacy. All the girls on Vogue covers, all yours. I pushed her fat ass out and screamed, you always end up a bummer. I picked up faith, hope, charity, all three clinging together. Without us, you'll surely die. With you, I'm going nuts. Goodbye. Then beauty. Ah, beauty. As I led her to the window, I told her, you I loved best in life. You're a killer. Beauty kills. Not really meaning to drop her, I immediately ran downstairs, getting there just in time to catch her. You saved me, she cried. I put her down and told her, move on. Went back up those 6 flights, went to the money. There was no money to throw out. The only thing left in the room was death, hiding beneath the kitchen sink. I'm not real, it cried. I'm just a rumor spread by life. Laughing, I threw it out, kitchen sink and all, and suddenly realized humor was all that was left. All I could do with humor was to say, out the window, with the window.
Thank you all for coming, and please come and eat some more food and chat and pass cards and sign books and buy books and have a great time. Thank you so much.